Yo, what is going on, guys? Jeff back here with another update finally on Project Xylus Excelsior. It's been a good couple months since the last video I uploaded, and a lot of you guys are wondering what's going on with the car, what's the progress. Definitely have been working on it as much as possible. I've had a lot of things going on in the last couple months that's kind of slowed progress, and what I've been working on, as I'll explain in a little bit, took a lot longer than I anticipated it would, so the update's kind of stalled there. I'm sorry about that, but I'm back to reveal probably the last big piece of this kit. Aside from the hood, we are going to be doing a new hood for it, but aside from the hood, this is the last big piece of the entire kit that you guys are going to get exposure to now, and that is the rear bumper. Now, a lot of you guys who are following me on Instagram have probably already seen the rear bumper design, at least the primary design of it, because I've posted some pictures and stuff like that, but it has undergone some changes in the last couple months here and there that you're going to see in this video, and I'm going to explain why those changes were made and show you the new additions that were made to it. It's even better than it was, so even if you have seen those pictures, you're gonna like it even more now. So very excited to show this to you because we're almost done. This is, like, again, besides the hood, this is the last big piece of the kit, and the hood is not going to take anywhere near as long as a big piece like this. And so here we are. I'm going to show you guys the rear bumper of the Z33 Excelsior kit. You guys have already seen the rest of the pieces. We've already done videos on the front bumper, the fenders individually, as well as the side skirts, even the rear wing, and a few accessory pieces have videos up. So if you have not seen those, go back and watch those, and then come back and watch this rear bumper video, and you guys will get a really good idea of what this whole kit is about, the vibe it's going to give off for this car. And so without further ado, let me show you guys the rear bumper for Excelsior. Alright, so here it is. I apologize about my videography skills there. They're not the greatest, I fully admit, but at least you guys get to see it, and that's what this is all about. So here is the Z33 Excelsior rear bumper. Very wild design, as is the case with all the other pieces. I hope you guys like it. As I know very well, it's going to divide some people. Some people are going to look at it and say, dude, way too much going on. I totally understand that. But I think most people will see it and say, man, that's just something so cool because you just have never seen it before. I don't think there's any other bumper for the Z33 at least that looks quite like this, and that was the goal. Again, as with all the pieces of the Excelsior kit, unique and extreme is the goal with this kit. So here it is. Like I said, some of you guys may have seen the base design already on Instagram. I've kind of posted it here and there, but this is the official reveal of the bumper. I got primer on it yesterday and everything, so it's looking the best it's ever looked. I have made a few changes since then as well that I'll explain in just a second, but I want to point out just a couple things right away. Some eagle-eyed viewers that know more obscure JDM parts may realize that this bottom section right here, this diffuser section, is actually a Vertex Lang rear diffuser. And that was the only part on this entire bumper that has been borrowed from anything else. Everything else is entirely original. But I went ahead and took a Vertex Lang rear diffuser, which typically does not fit directly on a OEM 350Z bumper. You actually need a Vertex bumper to fit this, but I actually took this, chopped it up into a bunch of pieces, and completely modified it and molded it to a completely original upper section. All the sides, everything is completely original besides the Vertex Lang diffuser there. And I think it came out really, really good. I think most people would never be able to guess that that was actually a part beforehand, because it just blends, everything blends very well. Like the rest of the pieces of the kit, the rear bumper was heavily inspired by Japanese design, particularly samurai armor design, hence the aggressiveness and a lot of the sharp edges and angles in conjunction with a lot of the curves and more elegant design pieces. And I think it really came together very well. I think it complements the rest of the kit. Very cool. I'm going to try and put the bumper on the car in this video so you can actually see what it looks like with the rear fender and everything attached. It just came together beautifully. It couldn't be more happy. So I'm going to try and get that in this video for you guys as well. But let's talk about this thing a little bit. First of all, probably the thing that's going to catch the eye the most, these massive ducts right here. There's one on either side, obviously, and this is something that was decided upon very early on. As I've mentioned before, the rear bumper was actually the first piece that I got done for the kit. Even though it went through many, many, many iterations, the rear bumper was actually the first major new piece that I made when I started this kit. And this was actually one of the first things that I did. This was like close to 3 years ago I actually made this. I did take some inspiration from the Nismo 350Z bumpers, the rear bumpers, in that they have this kind of square duct type of action on those as well. It actually goes all the way across on the Nismo bumpers. I definitely didn't want to do that. I wanted to just put one on either side and capture the large rectangular ducts there. But I didn't really like the way that they were made for the Nismo bumper. I thought that they stuck out a little bit too much, a little bit too exaggerated. So I wanted to capture the design of the duct itself, but just kind of recess it into the bumper a little bit more and add a little extra flair to make it my own. So I put the little slats in there and a lot of unique detailing in there. It's nicely beveled out on the edges all the way across here. I think they turned out really, really good. I think from all angles, whether you're looking at it from the side or whichever way you're looking at it, they look really good. And especially when there's a little mesh or something put behind there, it's gonna really pop and look really nice. The turn signal recesses here are actually OEM positioned, so that's exactly where they would be on the OEM bumper. And I know that for a fact because I actually molded this on top of an OEM bumper. So everything that you see from license plate position to the turn signal position, it's actually right where it would be on an OEM bumper. So I didn't want to mess with that. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to extend or shorten the wiring for any of the lighting or anything like that. I wanted to leave it as OEM as possible with regards to all of the accessory pieces like that. And I wanted to maintain the OEM license plate section right here. Now just adjacent to the main ducts, you'll actually see a little bit of detailing in through this area right here. And this is not just design. This is actually, there's a reason why there's certain lines here. This area right here, you can see there's one on both sides. This is actually to put additional lighting, like if you wanted to put some strobe lights or some extra brake lights or whatever you want to do. I actually made these little sections right there because I intend on putting some strobe lights in there for my own car. And you don't have to. You can leave it just the way it is, and I thought it looks really cool just like that with the design. But it's actually an area designed to put some accessory lighting or whatever you want to do right there. I think it looks really cool. This center section right here really is more design than anything else, although in theory you could put a third brake light or something right there as well. Really, the whole thing is up to the imagination when it comes to personalization on this thing. I left so much room open to modify it that you could really just have a lot of fun with it if you wanted to. But the way it sits, even just now, if you did not do another thing to it, I think it would look absolutely fantastic. Now the whole entire bumper is actually extended out from where, say for example, the OEM bumper would sit. I would say it's about an inch more out, moved out from where the OEM bumper would traditionally sit. So this whole area up here sits further out, and you can see how it kind of comes down this way, which plays beautifully into the hatch lid. When the hatch lid comes down, the ducktail actually comes down and flows beautifully into a curve like this. So it doesn't just come down and then just kind of slope down like the OEM bumper would. It actually makes this beautiful curve again, everything, all the thought going into the design of this to create curve and aggressiveness and elegance at the same time was definitely key for me coming into this design. So I thought it was beautiful just to bring this out just a little bit, not so much that it was overly aggressive, but just bring it out, create a nice body line straight across. And when the tail lights are in here, it just flows beautifully with the shape of the tail light. It's all complementary with the OEM lighting, and it just looks amazing. Now, taking a look at some of the side detailing, you'll actually notice that on one side it doesn't have the spat and canard setup, and on this side it does, and that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's so that you can see what it looks like without the spat and canard, which is an option. And on the other side obviously does have it. And the other reason is because I only made one side, and that's because I'm going to actually be 3D printing this whole thing, as opposed to making two of them. It's easier to 3D scan and 3D print, so I have exact symmetry on that. So I didn't even bother to build the other side of the spat and canard setup, but this is what the optional spat and canard looks like. Now obviously the spat lowers the rear bumper by a good portion. That's at least a full inch that it's going to be lower there. It just bolts directly up with about 6 bolts underneath the diffuser right there. And I wanted it to be nice and thick. I didn't want it to look like some cheap little thin like ABS plastic or anything like that. Nothing drives me crazier than seeing a nice car with like little thin ABS splitters and things like that. I mean, it's cool, don't get me wrong, it's maybe better than stock, but maybe. I love a nice thick chunky splitter, or a spat or something like that. So I definitely wanted it to have some thickness to it, and so it's a good inch thick right there, which is just nice. So it means business when you see it. And this is all completely original design, nothing borrowed in the design of the spat at all. And this fly is bothering me. Everything was made in foam for the base of it, and then all of this was clay work that I used to do the curvature and all of the lines and stuff. And that's all done in clay work, because whenever you need a lot of detail and a lot of particular shaping, clay is the way to go on that. So foam base with clay for the details of the curvature here of the spat, and then the canards themselves are fiberglass, so I used foam to get the straight shaping on that as well. And then I just put some nice shaping design to curve it down in here and here, and then I did a nice little vented side piece as well with an extra fin right here. It's a perfect example of how I like to just go the extra mile just a little bit and put a little extra flare. Like, I didn't need to add that little extra fin right there, but I imagine, again, looking at samurai armor, it's the little things, it's the little design elements that you see and you go, man, that's just really cool. Like, it doesn't need that, but it's unique. It makes it a little bit more unique. So I went ahead and added that extra little fin like that as well, and I think it just really looks great. Now obviously the biggest benefit of adding the spat and canard is these two massive ducts that you get here as a part of the bumper design now. I think that just looks absolutely menacing, really, from any angle, from the back, from the side. It adds an incredible amount of presence to the rear bumper, and rear bumper is definitely important. A lot of people are going to be seeing the rear bumper of the car, so we definitely need the rear bumper to be looking menacing, and I think we captured it just perfectly. These two sections right here are actually designed with the canard setup in mind. They're two flat areas that go directly back. They look good without the canard and the spat. It was designed to look good either way, but with it, it just looks beautiful. This center section is curved in like this, so you get a nice bit of airflow. It's not just flat. You can see how these sections actually come out, and they just work perfectly as the mounting surface area for the canards there. And the bottom section as well is nice deep recess right there, so that as air flows out, it kind of follows a curvature and comes out just like this. Looks awesome. But this is actually one of the things that changed on the base bumper design. If you go back and look at some of the pictures that I posted of this rear bumper previously, you'll notice that right about here there was a couple of sections that had to be cut out, and they were cool. It was really good. I was so excited about it when I originally designed it, but after talking with somebody who's very knowledgeable with regards to molding and production on bumpers like this, he had mentioned to me that details like that, where there's something actually built onto the bumper, where there's like a tunnel going through it, is very difficult to mold. It's very difficult to to pull that and get that to release from a mold when you go in to make production copies of it. And so I went ahead and made the hard decision to go ahead and cut those out completely. There used to be one on either side, obviously. But I cut them out completely and went ahead and did the spat and canard setup. And I really honestly like this way, way better. I knew that when I had to, if I'm gonna do something as extreme as cut an original design element out, I gotta go 100 times more crazy and make something better. So this is even way better than it was. And it's of course detachable. So it's perfectly okay to be able to mold this bumper now. It's way easier to mold because it doesn't have anything like that anymore. And all of these pieces, we can just take them off, mold them separately, and then add them on later. So everything all works out. So that pretty much covers all the major design elements of it. Of course, I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that I'm not mentioning about it. A lot of time went into the design. I sketched it out on paper first. I did all that kind of stuff, and you know, there's body lines everywhere on it, little intentional things that I put in that I'm not even gonna close to remember to mention, but you guys get the idea, I think, and I think it matches very well with the rest of the kit, which is very important. I guess the only other thing to mention is that this upper section, I had mentioned the license plate area, and actually these areas right here, those are actually from the OEM bumper. I wanted OEM fitment with this bumper, and including these top sections here where the headlights go in, you can still see in there the OEM mounting position. So I wanted this thing to fit beautifully, like not like an aftermarket bumper that you get and then it takes, you know, 2 weeks to try and recondition it to get it to fit. I wanted this thing to fit as closely to OEM as possible. So what I did is I actually again, as I said earlier, I molded this whole thing onto an OEM bumper. Most of it is all cut out from the inside. It's barely, you know, there's barely anything left of the OEM bumper. Just this, the top section, and the license plate. Basically anywhere where there was any mounting areas, any mounting holes, I maintained so that I can put this thing right on the car and know it's going to mount exactly like an OEM bumper. So that's going to minimize my body lines. It's going to make the fitment nice and tight and strong, and I was able to achieve that as well. So this is all borrowed from the OEM bumper, the upper section, and this and the center license plate area. Aside from that, it's all original. So let me put this thing on the car so you guys get a good look at what this looks like with the rear fender right here covering up the OEM section. It's just it fits right over here like a puzzle piece, and this body line matches up perfectly with the rear over fender. Then you guys are gonna really see the beauty of this all together. So let me put this thing on the car. All right, I got the bumper on. Little disclaimer though, my garage is in horrible shape, as is the car. Obviously it's full of dust still, and it's on jack stand, so the wheel gap is atrocious. I also don't have a lot of room back there, but I'm gonna take as much good footage as I can to show you guys. You'll get the idea. Here's where it's sitting right now. I don't know how many spiders are up under this car right now, but it's got to be an astronomical number. But anyway, she'll clean up nice. Here we go. Here's our rear bumper. Looks pretty crazy, if I do say so myself. Hopefully you guys are able to get a good idea. Wish I had more room back here, but I really just don't. But yeah, this thing is nuts, dude. This is, like I said, the rear wing. You can see how it comes down and then slopes. If you look from the side, hatch is not fully closed, so don't worry. It's not what it's going to look like. I have to leave my hatch open partially right now because if it closes, then the only way I can open it is with the little latch thingy on the inside. My hatch button is currently not working right now, so I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, here it is, guys. Here's the rear bumper of Excelsior. You can see, as I had mentioned, there's that beautiful body line right there. It's just like a puzzle. You know, you got the OEM piece underneath that is all the mounting is handled underneath, and then the over fender slots right over beautifully, and it just came out good. Came out really nice, if I do say so myself. I think it looks really good. I don't have my turn signals in right now, but you know, if you see right here, I didn't want to obstruct these two vents right here, so I made sure to bring this under. See, it curves down just like that. And there's actually a body line. You can't really see it in the primer, but there's a body line that comes up and follows the top of the canard right there. And you can also see how if you look at the top of the canard, it's actually sanded. It's got a nice bevel on it, so it bevels in to create no blockage. I didn't want any blockage of the vents. I wanted to leave them completely open. So the bumper's not fully bolted too, by the way, so the panel gaps will actually be even tighter than it is right now, but it's sufficient for the time being. Still running my Tomei single, and I think I'm going to continue running that. It's actually heavily modified, though. The positioning of it is heavily modified. It's actually extended back 8 inches and dropped significantly lower to clear the diffuser. So yeah, there it is. You can see how this beautiful curve from the over fender, how it comes all the way down, and you got that nice little wing coming out. You can see a nice tire presence there as well. It's going to look even better when it's down on the ground and aired out. You're going to get that little bit of negative camber, so you're going to get so much presence. I made it so I didn't want this to come out too much more. I actually wanted it to be equal or actually less than the side skirt, because I didn't want too much going on in the rear to make it look imbalanced. I wanted it to be kind of sharper in the front and then kind of come out and then taper in the back. So I left it. I actually had it originally. It was wider, and then I chopped it because I didn't like how wide it was. But I love it now. I think it looks perfect. A little close-up detailing of the venting on the side piece there. And yes, it is vented. They're not just lines. They are actually flared out. Not overbearingly much, but they are flared out. Here's a good look at the hardware, how it bolts up. So you have 4 bolts bolting the side piece to the canards, then you have two bolts from the canards to the bumper, and then this piece bolts up underneath here, underneath the lower, and then the spat is bolted underneath. And here's a nice side view of how the spat is curved downward. It's not just flat, and it cuts off perfectly right here, just like that. All right. So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this look at the last big piece of Project Xylus Excelsior. We are almost done with this kit, guys. I just got to do my hood. I'm going to get started on that possibly as early as this weekend and try and get that done as quick as I can and get this freaking car done. I'm so ready to have this car done, guys. Let me tell you, if any of you are excited to see this thing get done, you cannot imagine how excited I am to get this car done. Unimaginably so. Here's our front bumper. Still, it's like super dusty now, but I'm still making a couple adjustments to that. But that's pretty much done. And then yeah, hood. I'm going to recondition my headlights, don't worry. Everything's going to be reconditioned. Everything's going to be flushed. Yeah. Alright, so that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you like the rear bumper of Excelsior. I'm still getting a ton of questions, a ton of DMs from people asking when it's going to be available for sale. That is definitely my hope. That's my plan, to get this thing up for production and sale eventually. But I just have no idea. I wouldn't even begin to know when to tell you guys when that's going to happen. Obviously ASAP, sooner rather than later if possible, but there's still a lot of work to do, not only on my own car and making the kit in the first place, but the production process that's a whole nother can of worms. There's CAD work to do, there's 3D printing to do, and I don't have any idea how long any of that's going to take or how expensive it's going to be. That's another factor. But I can say that it won't be until at least this time next year. If I had to give a date, then at least this time next year for these pieces, or this kit I should say, being available for purchase. I still have to work out who's going to produce it, where it's going to get made. I don't know. I don't have any of that information just yet. So bear with me, those of you guys who are interested in possibly purchasing this kit. I will say that I've been getting questions as to how much the kit would cost when it does come out, and I don't want to scare anybody away, but I'm going to be completely honest because that's just how I am. I would not expect anything less than about $10K for this kit, and and possibly even more. And that's just because of the scope of the kit and what has gone into it. I've put about 3 years of my life into the kit. And it's going to be done as professionally as possible. It's not going to be cheap parts. It's going to be premium stuff. I would imagine very exclusive crowd would have this kit, so there is going to be a price tag associated with it, but that's not something we really need to think about right now. I just want to manage expectations. I don't want anybody coming out thinking, oh man, this is going to be $1,000 or a couple $1,000 when this kit comes out. It's not going to be the case. I'm telling you, this is like a 15 or more piece kit. It is absolutely massive. It changes the car completely, as you guys have seen in some of these videos. So please understand that when it does come out, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get this up for sale, it will be probably very limited, and it will not be cheap. So I'm sorry to say that, but it is what it is, and I appreciate you guys understanding that. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I will have more up as soon as possible. I'm going to make a video about the hood. I'm going to get started on that as soon as possible, maybe as early as this weekend. I'll get started on that, like I said. So I'm going to get a video up on that, and then hopefully some other stuff on the channel as well. I'm really feeling encouraged to pick up the pace on my YouTube channel, and hopefully you guys will stick around for what is to come. So thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace out, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.